We're the second largest food and beverage company. Consumers have become much more discerning. Affordability is absolutely critical.
Hello and welcome to The Big Question. I'm Jane Witherspoon and we're bringing you this episode from the World Government Summit in Dubai. And I'm delighted today to be joined by the CEO of International Beverages at PepsiCo, Eugene Williamson. Thank you so much for joining us today. In 2025, Pepsi restructured to create your department, International Beverages. What was the key strategy behind that, and how is it doing now?
The business that I run is our international beverage business, so everything outside North America when it comes to beverages. We cover about 190 markets across the globe. It's a very diverse portfolio. So on one side of the spectrum you have emerging markets across Africa, Asia, parts of Latin America. On the other side you have more mature and developed markets in Europe. And it's giving us the opportunity to actually focus solely on the beverages portfolio, but also to leverage the capabilities that are required for us to compete at scale with our bottling partners in that international beverage business.
Where do you see the biggest potential growth? Which market do you see that you're going to have to tap into?
I would say that there's many pockets of growth, especially when you look at the developing and emerging markets. So per capita consumption for packaged beverages in developing and emerging markets is still very low when you compare it to the more developed markets. Obviously, a market like India, where there's 1.4 billion consumers, where per capita consumption is low, where we're still at the beginning of the cycle, that is a market where there's going to be a lot of growth in the years to come. But there is also significant growth potential in markets in the Gulf, and then of course in Africa, but also there's growth opportunities in Europe.
Now, you've been at PepsiCo for over 30 years.
Oops.
Oops. No, I'm sure it's been a fabulous career.
It is, but let's not disclose my age.
How have you seen the industry change globally in that time?
Yeah, obviously it's been a massive change in the industry. So if I just look at the whole go-to-market for our business, that has evolved tremendously. You now have e-commerce, which is growing very rapidly across the world. Quick commerce, which is an offshoot of e-commerce, and with the very rapid delivery. Then another big change is how digitization really has reshaped the industry, but also how we do business, and of course how that's enabled us to become more efficient, more effective. Yeah, and then there's also been massive changes in terms of how consumers interact with brands. Yeah, so when I started my career, life was pretty simple as a marketer. You had only a few channels. You created 2-3 big TV commercials per year. Those were broadcasted through mass media. Now, obviously, you have social media as the predominant channel with which consumers engage, but also through which consumers create their own content.
But let's go back to specifically Europe. You know, what have been the key changes and the industry drivers there for PepsiCo?
What we also have seen in Europe is how consumers have become much more discerning. So on one side, you've seen consumers looking for more functionality in their food, in their beverages. But on the other side also, you're seeing consumers actually being much more focused on value. So you need to cater for all of these different needs across the portfolio. Also, what we're seeing in Europe is digitization and the impact that has on the especially retail sector. Europe was relatively early in that cycle, especially the UK. If you look at some of the big box retailers, double-digit percentage of their total revenue actually are being generated through e-commerce.
What other consumer trends are affecting the industry, do you think?
We also see consumers across the world looking for healthier options, looking for more indulgent options. On one side health, on the other side indulgence, functionality. So we've been on a journey for many years, reducing the amount of added sugar in our beverage portfolio. And then this notion of affordability has been important and continues to be very important for many consumers. This always has been part of our strategy. And it is absolutely critical, especially when you are building the category and developing in emerging markets, to keep that front and center.
You touched on digitization earlier. Let's talk a little bit more about AI and the impact that is having on your industry.
Well, AI across our company is implemented from farming to ultimately the consumer and how we engage with the consumer. So for those of you that are not that familiar with PepsiCo, we're the second largest food and beverage company. We have also a huge agricultural footprint. And we work with lots of farmers across the world, so about 100,000 farmers, from very large-scale farmers to small-scale farmers in India. On their smartphone, we've installed apps that enable them to improve farming practices, reduce water usage, reduce the use of fertilizer, which for us is critical as we strive to convert the agricultural land that we use to regenerative agricultural practices, but also it helps increase the yields for these farmers, so with that also the income that they earn. And then, I mean, if you look at the other side of the spectrum, so how we sell our products, for instance, in the different channels, we've implemented digital selling tools that enable our sales force to sell a broader portfolio, execute that portfolio better in the channels, but also ensure that we can track how the execution is being done and course where we need to course correct.
What ESG framework do you employ at PepsiCo, and how do you ensure it's not just a buzzword, that things are actually being put to use and you are reaching these goals? So we launched about 7 years ago Pep Positive, which is an integral part of our company strategy. And Pep Positive has 3 pillars: positive agriculture, positive value chain, and positive choices. For instance, positive agriculture. That is one example of how we've embedded it fully into our business strategy. As an example, how do you do that? You reduce water usage within your own operations, so minimize to the maximum extent possible the use of water. Let's take an example, Saudi Arabia, where we have 2 big snacks foods plants, one in Riyadh, one in Dammam. The one in Riyadh, we've provided technology solutions to alfalfa farmers around that plant. With that, they've been able to massively reduce their water usage. That has enabled that plant to become a net water positive plant. And that's what we're doing across the world. Eugene Williamson, thank you so much for joining us on The Big Question on Euronews.
Thank you so much.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.